Welcome everyone to the Wisconsin Faith and Solar Initiative. We are sharing a story from the faith community here with, we have Steve Goldstein from Beth Israel Center in Madison. I'm Huda Alkaff. I'm the founder and director of Wisconsin Green Muslims and the coordinator of the Wisconsin Faith and Solar Initiative. So with that, we thank you very much, Steve, for joining us, and we would love to hear the faith and solar story that you're sharing with us today.
Well, thank you, Huda. Thanks for the opportunity to make this presentation and tell you about our exciting project. As Huda mentioned, I'm a member of Beth Israel Center, a synagogue in Madison near the University of Wisconsin campus. In fact, so near that on football Saturdays, when the Badgers score a touchdown, we know it during our morning, our Shabbat worship services. We're a congregation of 250 families with a long history in Madison. And I just have this slide just illustrating part of that long history. We've been in the current location for more than 70 years. And the community itself has been part of the Greenbush, was originally part of the Greenbush neighborhood in Madison for the past century. Now back to our what compelled us to embark on a solar project, and it's a really key part is about tradition, and a tradition thousands of years old, not centuries. And a key part of our tradition is something that in Hebrew we call tikkun olam, repairing the world. And in the 21st century, with the seeing the ravages of climate change now and the future consequences, we're compelled to act because of this tradition. So the question is how and what. And what you're seeing now is our building after a remodel that was completed in 2015. So at the time of that remodel, we considered, as we were planning for that remodel, we considered putting solar on our ample rooftop space. But that in the, from 2010 to 2013, 14, as we were planning this project, that's just seemed like a stretch for our community, that raising the money to pay for solar installation would in some sense compete with this limited set of funds that was going to finance our remodeling. Now jump ahead just a short couple of years to 2017, and which is what we're seeing this installation photo right now. Just that couple of years later, as many of the people watching this know, the price of solar dropped precipitously. And so it turned from being a fundraising campaign to a slight either revenue neutral or actually revenue generating campaign. So in fact, we went through a process and eventually installed this 62 kilowatt array on our rooftops. And you might see the kind of newer section of the building on the right, and the existing older part, the part with the gravel roof on the left of this. So this 62 kilowatt station provides roughly half the electrical power for us. So just a little bit about the financing of this operation and kind of our process to getting to where we see now in this slide. at the time of this, we actually applied for a grant from Focus on Energy. It was and got a grant from the RECIP program that financed a little more than 10% of it. In addition, we had a grant from Renew Wisconsin Solar for Good program that I'll mention towards the end. That helped with a specific part of this project. And another part of the financing was that we took advantage of the US tax code to give us a tax incentive credit. But we had to do this in a very creative way, that that tax incentive credit, or incentive tax credit, I guess, ITC, is not available to nonprofits. So this array that we're looking at is actually owned by a member of our congregation who then sells the energy to Beth Israel. And that LLC that owns this, that person that owns this, leases the roof space. So this somewhat complicated arrangement allowed us to get a substantial tax credit. And it was facilitated through our relationship with Legacy Solar Co-op. So in the end, in doing all these calculations with all these grants and tax incentives, it turned out that we projected that this array would generate an income of about $10,000 a year, and the value increasing, of course, over the 25 to 40-year lifetime of these panels. So I thought that would be just great. I can bring this to the board of directors, and it would just be kind of a slam dunk. But I kind of come back to this picture. It actually, because although our board of directors does not look like the board of directors in 1949, some of the same concerns that are exemplified in that picture came across in our many meetings about this. One member of our board of directors told me, look, it's great that we might get slight revenue from this, that $10,000. That's really going to help. Our finances are tight, obviously, like any other nonprofit these days. But that's a small part of our budget. And really what's critical to us, and also let me back up here a second. The board and the whole congregation highly supportive of taking this step that lets us be proactive in helping to mitigate climate change in our own small way. Everybody was totally on board with that. But this board member said, look, we've got a legacy to preserve here. There are risks. What are the risks with doing this insulation? What happens if a strong wind comes along and blows a solar panel off the roof and some tragedy happens? Are we on the hook for that? What if a squirrel chews through the wires and shuts down this? Is that going to cost us? Are there other costs? This complicated financial agreement that you're talking about, what assurance do we have that it's on the up and up? Who is this group, Legacy Solar Co-op, and so on and so forth? So it was about, the concerns were about making sure that we want to generate this legacy for future members of our community, but we want to ensure that we're not endangering the legacy left to us by our founders. So in the end, the board did approve this. It's been active since 2018 and generating, I just did a calculation this morning, about 45% of our power. So I'll end with just a small story here about this grant that we got from the Solar for Good program from Renew Wisconsin. And I'm just showing you the inverters here. And that's because this explanation is somewhat technical. So through the planning of this project, the many months of planning of this project from the beginning of 2017 through the summer, we kind of finally got all the numbers down, got the board to approve it. And then when we went to submit the order with our contractor, he said, hey, this is now September 2017. And Trump just imposed a tariff on Chinese products. And so the whole solar industry was scrambling because the majority of panels were produced there in China. And so as a result of that scramble, our configuration changed slightly. We actually had previously, with the initial design, we had been under a threshold for the power company, Madison Gas and Electric, replacing a transformer. But after this necessary reconfiguration, because we had to scramble to get whatever panels and inverters were available, we were above that threshold, and hence we were on the hook for another $3,000. And so rather than needing to go back to the board for perhaps many more months, and we applied for this grant from Solar for Good, and they thankfully awarded it to us. And so here we are. So I want to just end with Huda thanking you and the Wisconsin Green Muslims for allowing us this opportunity to talk about this project. And I just want to end with a quote and kind of setting here too. So this act, well, we realize it's a small piece in helping to change the world, in tikkun olam, and repairing the world. And we're doing other things to repair the world, other things both in sustainability, but also more generally in social justice. So just this small piece magnified by these other by the other groups that Wisconsin Green Muslims has brought together to produce similar presentations. We're just really grateful to be able to be part of that participation. And so the quote I want to end with is from a book of wisdom, Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers. And the quote is, you are not required to finish your work, yet neither are you permitted to desist from it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. That's a beautiful quote, and definitely that's what we all are striving to do everything we can in our capacity. So with that, this is Wisconsin Faith and Solar Initiative. It's a unifying power of solar that brings people of faith together to celebrate the light, the sunlight that's the common. And we connect with over 19 different faith traditions and spiritualities and philosophies in Wisconsin. So I'm Huda Alkaff. I'm the founder and director of Wisconsin Green Muslims and the coordinator of Wisconsin Faith and Solar Initiative. You can look us up at faithandsolar.org. Thank you very much, Steve, again, and thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Take care. Peace.